Hi, this is Amit, and today we are going to learn attacking chess. We are going to understand correct strategy and the plans to destroy the castle position of our opponent. So let's start with this position. What do you think? How should white continue over here? Bishop into h6, g into h6, queen into h6. Right, so basically I'm giving my bishop for 2 pawns and I'm opening up the shelter of my opponent's king. I have already destroyed the king's position, but we have to make sure that before giving this sacrifice you should calculate properly, because if black will be able to defend this position, in that case he might even win the game because you are giving an extra material for attack. So just you have to make sure before sacrificing your material. Now white is threatening queen to h7 check and mate, and the only way to defend that mate is to move this rook. And can you calculate now? It is very simple how white can check and mate black. So the correct move is bishop to h7 check. Remember, the king will not be able to escape from f8 square because my queen is controlling that square. So he has the only move, which is king to h8, and now I have to play bishop to g6 discovered check. Okay, so this will force our opponent to move his king on g8, then queen h7 check. He has to come on f8, and then queen into f7 is check and mate. Okay, in this position again the pattern would be same, but I would request all of you to calculate properly first and then answer. So bishop into h6, g into h6, queen into h6, and then I'll just make the moves now. G into h6, queen into h6, and black played knight to b2, right? Because he can see this bishop potentially attacking piece. So now what should white play? And we should play knight to g5, right? This is the best variation where black will exchange this bishop. So knight into d3. So what do you think? How should white continue in this position now? White should play knight to h7 now. That is the whole point. We are threatening knight to f6 check and mate. So black plays any demo, it doesn't matter. Let's say he captures your rook. In that case, we'll play knight to f6 and this will be check and mate. The knight is giving check and all these squares has been controlled by a queen. So it's a check and mate. Okay, so can you tell me what should white play? After bishop into h6, g into h6, now white should play rook into f7. First we sacrifice our bishop and then we sacrifice our rook, right? So basically we are destroying the whole king's cover now. After rook into f7 we are threatening queen to h7 check and mate. So now you are forcing him to capture your rook also. So it's an amazing combination, my friends, where we have sacrificed the bishop, we have sacrificed the rook to open up the shelter of the king. Knight e5 check, very nice. After knight e5 check, he goes to f8, right? Because even if he goes over here on e8, I'll simply play queen to g6 check. He has to come on f8 and then queen f7 is mate, so everything will be forced. If he goes on g8, in that case again I'll give this check, and if he comes over here on h8, then knight to f7 is mate, and if he comes to f8, in that case queen f7 is again check and mate. So after knight e5 check, king f8, so the correct move is queen to h7, right? Queen to h7, now it is threatening this check and mate, queen to f7 mate, right? If he plays this move, right? So now I have another option. I can play queen to h8. Even this is mate. So these two are probable threats to check and mate your opponent, and he cannot defend both of them. But he still has a forcing move. He can play knight to f4 check. White should play king to f1. So he plays h5 or any other move. In that case, queen h8 mate or even queen f7 is check and mate. So definitely the mate is unstoppable and white will win the game. So this is the position. And what do you think should white play now? White should play knight to f5. Black played queen to a4. White should go for bishop into h6, g into h6, queen to e3. Now what am I threatening? I am threatening simply queen into h6 first, and then it would be followed up by queen to g7 check and mate. and he has played knight to e8. Okay, I'll just show you that knight to g4 will not work. Okay, attacking the queen and even defending this will not work because white simply has a winning move. So I'll simply pin this knight and I'm threatening to capture this knight, queen into g4 check, followed up by queen to g7 check and mate. So black will play pawn to h5 and he will defend that knight. So I should play pawn to h3. I should increase the attack on the pinned piece. So first of all, I am regaining the piece. But second thing is that even if he captures my pawn, definitely I don't want to recapture this because we are going for his king now. So h into g4, and even if he captures my bishop, it doesn't matter. I'll play g into h5 check, and I'm threatening this mate, which is inevitable. So queen to g7 is check and mate. At the same time, even bishop into c4 straight away was not possible because white can again win this game by playing queen to h6, and he plays anything, then queen to g7 check and mate. So there are many correct ways to win this position. So in game, black played knight to e8 in order to control this g7 square. That is the whole point behind playing knight to e8. So here white captured the pawn on h6. So now what white has done is that he has sacrificed the bishop, right, and he is getting two pawns. So still the material is not justified, but there is something else which white is threatening now. Okay, if black plays bishop into c4, in game black played queen to d7, but if he plays bishop into c4, what do you feel? What can white play in this position now? White should play knight to e7, and that would be check and mate. The knight is giving check, and all these red mark squares has been controlled by my queen, so it's a check and mate. So after knight to e8, queen into h6, black played queen to d7. The point behind this move is that it is controlling the e7 square. So now this is not possible because queen will capture in that case. Can you calculate white to play and win in this position? Queen to g5 check. He comes to h7. Then queen to h4 check. He goes to g8, right? Because if he comes to g6, white should play queen to h6 check and mate. So after queen d5 check, king h7, queen h4 check, king g8. Now white should play queen to g3 check, king h7, queen to h3 check, right? And this will again, force him to go either on g8 or g6. So if he goes on g6, then in the same way I'm going to play queen to h6 and it's going to be mate. So after queen h3 check, king goes to g8. So white can play knight to h6 check with the discovered attack on the queen, right? And it's also a check by knight. So now he is forced to move his king, and in that case I'll win the queen, and where white is clearly in a winning position. So that's it for the day, my friend. Bye.